A Catholic primary school has defended its policy of rewarding children who take part in extracurricular religious ceremonies because many feel that this is unfair, as it's singling out those who do not take part. Well, Michael Nugent is chairperson of Atheist Ireland and joins me. Michael, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Michael, we have heard this situation before whereby with this particular school up the country, the reward was a homework pass, which one student didn't get because they did not take part in this religious activity, which was, I think, taking part in the choir. Do you hear of this quite a lot? Because we hear from parents who find it very difficult to get their children out of a religious class. Not the fault of the school, they say, or the teachers, just simply lack of resources.
Well, yeah, what's happening is that first of all, you've got to look at the background. These are not Catholic schools. They're national schools. They're state schools. They're funded by the state. And in the Constitution, you have a right to attend any of these schools, regardless of your religious belief, and you have a right to attend them without attending religion class or religious worship. And that's also supported in the Education Act, which says the same thing. So that's the background. They are not Catholic schools. They're national schools that anybody's entitled to attend. Now, in recent years, because the Catholic Church has begun to find out that parents are standing up to them, and they're not getting away with the old practice of just making everybody do religion anyway, they're having to find more imaginative ways of keeping children in religion in order to evangelise them. And that's not me saying that, that's the Catholic Church's own policy of why they run Catholic schools is to evangelise children. So they're doing things now like they recognise that you can opt out of the class, but they'll bring the parents in for a meeting and ask them about their beliefs. They'll tell them they can't get another subject. They'll say you have to collect the child from school. They'll tell them maybe go to another school and so on. They'll make you sit in the back of the class. And then you've got this type of thing of essentially punishing children who don't get involved in the practice of religion by making them do homework that other children don't have to do. So we'll get there eventually. It's just part of this Irish thing of, instead of just respecting the law, people always try to just find their way around it and say, well, if we can't do it directly, we'll do it indirectly. In
this particular case in County Meath, the child was quite upset leaving because obviously enough, 8 or 9 years old, and you know your friends aren't getting homework, and then you are getting homework because you didn't take part in that particular religious ceremony or an activity involving religion. We hear from parents here who get annoyed because their child would be sitting in a classroom doing something else but still can hear religion being taught because there's nowhere to put that particular child. But as you mentioned there at the very start regarding that they're national schools and not owned by the Catholic Church, when I mentioned this earlier on this morning and indeed yesterday, we did get a few calls from people who said, well, it was the Catholic Church who got the money together to build these particular schools, and if people aren't happy, they should send them to Educate Together or other type of schools. They might not be in the area nearby. What do you say to those people, even though you haven't outlined the law, but to those who say, regardless of the law, Catholic schools, that the national schools were Catholic ethos and a lot of the money came from fundraising via the Catholic Church? I mean, how do you explain that to someone, leaving out the law side of things, which you've already explained, because people are dismissing that instantly?
Well, that's a bit complicated. In a lot of cases, if you look back on it, the buildings were given by philanthropists to the community, and the Catholic Church managed to get themselves being the body that ended up running them. But you're right, in some cases, the Catholic Church, with the assistance of state aid, did contribute money towards the buildings. That's years ago. Like nowadays, the state builds the schools as well. But in practical terms, they can't run the schools just by having the building. The state pays for the upkeep of the buildings. The state pays for the teachers. The state effectively pays for the running of the schools. And one of the conditions in the Constitution of getting this state aid to run the schools is that you have to accommodate children of different religions or of no religions, and that those children have to be able to attend the schools without attending religious instruction or religious worship. That's in the Constitution. It's not just in the law. That's something that even Eamon de Valera, who wrote the Constitution in 1937, recognised was an important aspect of freedom of religion. Now, the second thing you're saying about go to another school, there's less than 100 Educate Together schools in the country out of 3,500 primary schools. In most areas, there is no other school. In most areas, the only local school is run by the Catholic Church. So you don't have an option to go elsewhere. So you have to be able to go to your only local state-funded primary school or indeed secondary school without being indoctrinated into a religion other than your own.
So, as an atheist yourself, would you like to see the situation whereby, currently at the moment, from what I can see anyway, in the majority of schools, is they teach religion within that 6-hour school zone? So if you start at 9 and you finish at 3, within that time zone, the subject of religion is included. Would you like to see a situation whereby, if the students and the parents want them to go and attend religious class, that would happen outside of school hours, let's say at 3:30? If you finish at 3, at 3:30, if you want your child to be taught religion, well, then they stay back for that. Is that something, a proposal you would like to see, which I'm sure then, though, would come back from a backlash from the likes of the INTO and teachers who would say they're working extra hours then?
Well, it depends. First of all, it depends on what the religion class is. At the moment, religion classes in Ireland are either overtly indoctrinating, i.e. they're just teaching Catholic faith formation, or else they claim to be, suitable for everybody, but in practical terms, they're not. In practical terms, they're doing things like they're teaching morality through religion, which isn't suitable for an atheist parent. Like a religious parent would object if morality was taught through atheism in a state-funded school. So, but hypothetically, if there was a subject that was teaching about religions and beliefs in an objective and critical and pluralistic way, this is what Catholics believe, this is what Protestants believe, this is what atheists believe. If that was the case, then it wouldn't matter where it is during the school day, because it would just be another subject like history or geography or mathematics or science. But yes, you're right. At the moment, the way that it's taught at the moment, it should not be part of the school day. It should either be after the main school day ends, or alternatively, just done in churches or at home. It's the role of schools is not to pass on religious beliefs. The role of schools is to teach children.
Yeah, and as you say there, the religious classes, even though I know some schools do, even though it's called religion, they don't initially teach religion, and it can be for whoever you are. But we know the honest truth is that if you're making your Holy Communion, there's preparation. If you're making your confirmation, there's preparation. So you would like to see that done outside the school, maybe in the local church hall or something, rather than the school. That's the only really way around it.
Yeah, and I would stress, by the way, that we would be just as opposed to state schools teaching that atheism is true as we are to state schools teaching that religion is true. These are things that should be passed on by families or churches, and state-funded schools should not have a role in indoctrinating people either into or out of religion.
So then, given the situation that happened in County Meath, what do you say to the principals? So, this situation was upsetting for the young child. Do principals and teachers need to be educated? If they are of a really strong Catholic ethos and they feel everybody should be taught that particular way, how do you change their mindset if they continue to do this? And if we have children going home upset because at the end of the day, the child will do what their parent tells them at a certain age. So how do you get around that mindset, regardless, whatever is made from the education department? If a principal feels, no, it's a Catholic school, I'm going to teach it the way I want to teach it, and that child will be punished because they did not attend a religious ceremony or indeed an activity.
It's hard to tell. Society is changing, and I think the people of Ireland have moved on, and the Catholic Church doesn't control the minds of the people of Ireland in the way that it used to, as we've seen from the last few referendums. But unfortunately, there are still laws in place, such as the ones that enable the Catholic Church to run most of our primary schools, that were in place from the time that the Catholic Church did have control, and we're going to have to gradually dismantle those laws and replace them with laws that treat everybody equally. There is probably, though, on this particular issue, there's a kind of irony on this particular issue, is that even within the existing laws, they're breaking the law by not allowing children to attend the school without that right being prejudicially affected by religion classes and religious worship. But there's a practical difficulty here, and we've been told a number of times in the past, why doesn't a parent just take a legal case? Because there's a good chance that it would win, certainly, and then also under the human rights law. But the difficulty in practice is, if you're a parent and your child is going through school at the moment, you don't want to make things even more difficult for your child while they're going through the education system by being the parents that are taking your school to court. So there's a kind of dichotomy there. There's a pressure on the people that need the court case the most are the ones that can least afford to take it in practical terms, because in fairness you have to give first priority minimising the disruption to your child's education. So I think political change is probably what's going to have to make it happen.
Okay, very finally, away from the schools, and a lot of people agree, by the way, that on text so far anyhow, that the religion should be kept for the church and children should not be singled out, especially in front of their peers in school. But your position then on religious statues, I presume you will be against those in public places, for example, hospitals. A lot of people feel it's wrong to take them away from hospitals, even people who say they're not religious anymore or have left the Catholic Church, because they say whatever happened in Ireland, that was still part of our history. What's your view on that, on religious statues in our hospitals, for example, which have been removed, and people feel upset that we're losing our identity, some people say, but our culture, because that was, regardless of how bad history was, it was part of history in Ireland?
Well, I think the general principle should be that if somebody is acting on behalf of the state, or if there's a building that is operated on behalf of the state, that those people or buildings shouldn't be displaying signs of either religion or atheism. Like a religious person would immediately realise that it's not appropriate if they went into hospital at a vulnerable time of their life, going into hospital, and found a sign on the wall of their hospital ward saying there is no God. And from an atheist perspective, that's the same thing the other way around. You don't want to be presented with symbols of first of all, something that you don't believe in, and secondly, for a lot of people of Ireland, symbols of Catholic Church in particular bring memories of abuse rather than good memories. So I think that hospitals should be there to treat people's illnesses, just as police stations are there to tackle crime, and other agencies of the state are there to do their job. While they're acting on behalf of the state, they shouldn't be promoting either religion or atheism.
Okay, well, regarding the schools, we'll have to wait and see what will happen. It's really the education departments will have to intervene with that. We don't want children to be upset going to school because of something that hasn't been specifically ruled out by the education department. For the moment, though, Michael, thanks for joining us and going through that with us this morning. That's Michael Nugent there, who's chairperson of Atheist Ireland. Your views are welcome on that. The majority of people agree with Michael and feel that at this stage, religion should be kept for the church, and regardless what people's views are, we should not be upsetting our children in school. At the end of the day, they are there to learn and make friends, but we don't need to be segregating them or splitting them up because of religion. We have enough of that over the last few years in our own country, says James. More texts coming in as well. We'll get to those in a while. Keep them coming to us on religion in schools. 1850 333 103, or indeed text or WhatsApp 086 2103 103. You can email this morning jp at c103.ie or tweet at C103 Cork. On the way, we're going to be hearing